about 4 years of my life. And the best part of my job is some of the relationships that we develop along the way. So I'm new to this community. You don't know me from the next guy. You might have heard that I'm just the scam artist because I work for a wind industry and I come into town to try to destroy things or wreck your quality of life. But I assure you that I'm not. And neither are anyone that is a part of our team. And if they are, they're not going to last very long working with us because we've got to be upfront. And so, I guess in closing, I'll say, when I think about these projects, again, I think of opportunity. I think about opportunity for the community, for each individual family that might want to sign a lease. It doesn't matter. Everyone's got a different position. They're coming from some. I can't tell you what you care about or what's important. But I do know that we look at examples like Gratiot County. Since 2012, they brought in 49, as of the 2019 tax numbers, and their taxes are always a year behind. But as of 2019, they brought in nearly $50 million in tax benefit to the local community. That's not all just to the county. That's divided between the townships, each of the townships, the county, Department of Senior Services, Fire and Rescue, the health millage, to the roads, to the road commission, you name it. Whoever's got a millage, whoever's a taxing entity with a millage in Gratiot County that has a wind turbine or some associated part of a wind project in their millage footprint, they're getting taxes. $50 million since 2012. That's significant. But that's just the tax impact. There's also all those signed contracts that individual families have, whether you're the single acre in a house or whether you're a larger farmer. They sign a signed contract. That money is paid out annually. Those are not my contracts, so I can't speak to the specific terms of those because we didn't work out there. But the people who did work out there, got a chance to get to know quite a few of them, they speak pretty highly about this. The money that gets paid to the community in taxes is great because even if you don't sign a lease, but there's a whole bunch of new tax revenue coming to your township or to your county, it's going to help maybe lower your taxes. And there's clear examples of that happening in Gratiot County in some of these individual townships. Yeah, I mean it's true. If you have a millage for say a $2 million on your roads, all of a sudden there's several $1 million coming to the township. All of a sudden that millage drops for everybody from $2 million to 1.75, maybe to 1.5, maybe 1. I can't tell a township what to do with the money, but there's opportunities that come as a result of some of these projects. The direct landowner payments, the rent check. Again, oil and gas has been around this area for a long time. Isabella County, the high school out there is the Oilers, right? Rosebush didn't always smell like roses, it smelled like sour gas for a long time. But they've got a history of getting those annual rent checks from the oil and gas industry. And the same is can be said here. And when that money comes to a local community, to the individual family or whomever, they can spend it however they want, but a lot of that times that money stays here locally. So, the economic development piece is big. And I think that's something that we can be proud of at the end of the day, seeing what opportunities come to the communities. But we'll be here for a while, and I'll be quiet and happy to answer questions afterwards. Or Terry, I'll turn to you.
Okay, we're going to go to citizen comments.
Why did you pick this area when there's other areas in the state that has much bigger fields? And why is an acre and a half big enough to put one of these monstrosities when the house next door if your answer is something, I mean, who wants to look at one right next to him?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. So we looked at this area for a number of reasons. One, we think there's enough wind to make a project viable. There are areas that are more that might have bigger landowners, but some of those areas might already have wind projects that are operating in their community. A big piece that makes Montcalm County attractive for a wind project is one, the wind resource is sufficient. There's actually a better wind resource we think here than some other parts of the state. But you also have access to transmission. So you can go out to some parts of the U.S., like Wyoming is a great example. The wind is whipping through Wyoming. The wind's blowing all the time. But they don't have any transmission lines. So you could build the best wind farm, but if you have no way to get the power out of Wyoming, doesn't do you any good. So we do have access to transmission lines, existing heavy-duty transmission lines that the power that would be generated here would get used here locally. It would tap into the grid here locally. It would get used, some would get used here, and then some I'm sure would also get spread out because we'd likely be creating more electricity than what we could use here in certainly Sidney Township or maybe Montcalm County as a whole. So it'd be about enough power we're looking at to produce about 95,000, to run about 95,000 average U.S. houses. So it does get used here locally, but it also goes onto that line and it goes, who knows where it goes. Your question about the 1.5 acres, and whatever it might be, now there will be a setback from a house, from all houses, whether you signed or you're not signed. We're not going to put a turbine on 1.5 acres. Now, a footprint for a turbine in a field may take up about a half acre to maybe 1.5, depending on the length of that access road. Again, we're going to be required to work with the landowner to design this road in a way that they see as suitable. Otherwise, we can't build it. So we won't be putting turbines, out here on the other side of the park or next to somebody's house. I mean, they will be sufficiently spaced out and spread away from the houses, certainly to the best of our ability. We think across this project, we might have about 75 wind turbines.
Whoa.
Not all in Sidney Township, not all in any one given spot. If we can spread those out as much as possible, that's better. Now, if you look at some of the first projects that were built, say in Gratiot County, or the one under construction in Carson City, or just outside Carson City on the Gratiot County side, or the one up in Isabella County, those turbines are each about 2.5 to 2.8, some are 2.3 megawatt machines. Those are some of the largest in the state. But with the improvements in technology, you can have about the same size footprint, about the same size turbine in a couple years' time when we're looking to build this project that can pump out twice as much power per turbine, so you have half the number of turbines. So the Isabella project is 136 wind turbines. It was supposed to be 157. We actually we selected a different turbine that pumped out a little more power so we could reduce the number of turbines after taking community input and thinking, all right, let's try to minimize our footprint. 136 is still a lot, but it's spread across 6 townships. 4 to 6 townships, so the number of townships involved in the Isabella project, there's 136 turbines spread across that. You can build the same project today or in a couple years' time with half that number. And so that's our goal. Our goal is to minimize our footprint so we can stay away from houses to the best of our ability and try to minimize that sort of impact. So it would be spread out across the area, not 75 turbines in Sidney Township.
So when 2 years from now, you're going to put in these stronger wind turbines which are available. So when would you get the data on how safe they are?
It would be.
You're going to put them in and then come up with some data?
No, that's a good question. No, the turbines that we're using now are already in development now, so they're being tested. The data is being accumulated now. It's kind of like buying, the latest model of, Ford F-150. It's improvements to the technology. It's a known technology, so it's not like they haven't been used anywhere.
It's technology studies, not medical studies. So new technology, no medical research. So you have no medical input.
Well, the mechanics of the turbines are essentially the same with improved gearboxes with a different gear ratio. The blades are going to be similar. The blades that were first used on a wind turbine were designed, if you look at the first project over outside Alma in Gratiot County, a little bit shorter blades. Those blades are a little bit louder. The tower itself is shorter, but as research and development has gone into how do we improve upon the turbines, the technology, how do you make them quieter? You got a different gearbox structure. The gearboxes are entirely different these days. They're a little bit quieter. Same general function, same general purpose, but they're more efficient. You can pump out more power. It's not as loud. The blades that we use today, the blades of the future, are engineered in a way where it reduces the drag of the blade going through the wind. They've got a serrated edge. They're designed in a way to try to be less intrusive on the local community.
So the turbines, the generator that's up there, do they have any effect on people's TV antennas?
That's one of the things that we've got to approve or we don't. So there's a regulatory agency that we've got to get approvals for before
So you
it should be a
guys,
part of anybody's ordinance. That should be something required. But
you
something
guys don't have any, your wind turbines won't affect TV antennas?
That's that hasn't been something that's been my experience. So
Okay.
I haven't seen that happen. To say it hasn't happened, I'm sure there's a situation, but if that's the case, then
Why is it in Isabella County, the local TV antenna guy up there has replaced over 2,000 TV antennas, and APEC, or the wind turbine company, paid for the antenna repairs?
I don't know about that.
Because
That's been my project for the last 4 years, and I've never.
you
No
lose,
offense, I've never heard
you lose reception on your antenna TV.
Well,
And there's 2,000 antennas that have been repaired.
can you point me to I like to talk with the guy who's doing the work. Because if
Dennis-
we're paying for it, I haven't heard of it. It's never crossed my desk. So if that's true, I want to know.
TV up in 46, before you get to it. Well, on Stanton Road.
It's like
Side 22.
crash. It's like crash. Okay, so that could be a different project, but I'll talk to the guy. But that's not something I'm aware of.
My brother-in-law had it happen to him, and the wind turbine company in Shepherd paid for his replacement of his TV antenna.
Well, good, as they should. That wasn't us, but if that happened, I don't know about that. I know we haven't
So
replaced
now you're
2,000
gonna get
antennas.
stronger ones when you guys put them in here. So is that gonna wipe out everybody's TV antenna?
Well, part of what we'd have to look at is we'd have to conduct studies. We'd have to pay for that
After
process.
they put them up.
Before we put them up, that ought to be part of the permitting process. It's before they go up. But we would have, just like we have got to do with the FAA, we've got to say, because sometimes it's a density issue. If it's a radar issue or if it's a TV signal, it could be a density issue. But we'd have to have an answer to that.
Because a lot of people here, that's their source of TV,
Yeah,
TV antenna.
I could respect that.
I have a two-part question. Number one, I have a picture of the eagle on Derby Lake, if anybody wants to see it. It's sat on my doghouse somewhere.
Okay.
So we know that we have bats, we have birds, we have butterflies, we have an eagle,
Yeah.
lots of hawks.
Yeah.
I mean, how far away do you plan on staying from the lakes, number one, and from these wildlife habitats?
Uh-huh.
And number two, you said there's no effects on the health, yet there are numerous studies on the internet that say that there is sleep deprivation, which doesn't, from the vibrations and from the noise.
Well, yeah. So the eagles, she asked about eagles and raptors and birds and
Sleep
bats.
deprivation, I think I heard too.
Yeah, how far
There's
away
a
do you,
two-part question, so, yep. Yeah, we
how
can
far away
talk.
do you plan to stay from the wildlife?
Well, that's probably gonna be determined by the federal government. They're probably gonna tell us it's at least 1.6 miles, I would imagine, from any eagle's nest.
Radius.
Yes.
Radius.
Yeah. 1.6 mile radius from any known eagle's nest is likely what's gonna happen, but I don't set those rules, that's set by the federal government.
Don't you already have a map of where you're gonna go right now? I thought there was a printer already on all this,
Yeah, share it.
cause I was,
Yeah, if you're so
you know what I'm saying?
transparent, let's see it.
Yeah,
I thought the
Please
lakes
do.
weren't even in this, we're out of it.
we cut out a lot of the lakes.
That's
No,
right.
We've been mushrooms, we've been kept in the dark and fed crap.
I'm here to
And so
talk to
we
you
don't know
tonight, and
what's true and
I'll
what's
give you
not.
my card before we leave, so you can call me and I'll come to your place, or you can come see me.
Got it all right here.
We're here.
I don't have enough, actually.
Let's see
I
the
have a
operational lease agreement.
I wanna
You're
know,
so transparent.
Hold
with
on a
your
second.
lease
Hold on a
agreements,
second.
we've heard rumor that when you had people sign lease agreements, they were made to sign gag orders.
I've heard that rumor too.
Is that true or not true?
No,
No.
that's not
No.
true.
Okay.
No,
And there was no forcing or anything
No.
either.
Okay, how do
I
we know?
wanted to know the answer to that.
Because, well, because if
How
you,
do we
how about I
know?
give you
It's
my
about-
card afterwards, and we sit down and we
it's
can
about
talk
the
about the
money.
lease. We can talk about the lease.
Your company is getting billions of dollars from the government, from our taxpayer money.
That's also
And you're
not
looking to
accurate,
get
but
as many in here before that tax money runs out. It's about the money. You flash the money to these people. I'm concerned, listen, I'm fortunate. we have options if you bring these in, but a lot of my neighbors in this county and this township don't. And when their health goes and they have no options and they lose everything, what about them?
Well,
You're gonna leave them in the dark. And anybody who signed, if it's about the money and you need money to keep going, you're that desperate, why don't you come to the county? Why don't you come to your neighbors? I'd be more than willing to stand up and start a community drive for you if you really need the money that bad to help you out. I would donate money to help you out if that's what it's
You're
about.
talking about the money that's been paid to the lease,
They don't
the
Even what they have
lessees,
to make.
but not what's gonna happen with their neighbors who are
Exactly.
1.6 miles, it's not very far.
Yeah, you're selling out your neighbor.
there's a lot more that goes into this than just money. Get back to the conversation about opportunity. People see different reasons for doing it.
What
Yeah,
about
why
the
else would it
vehicles
come?
that you got rid of out in that little island in New York, where they were found and there was a nest there were a pair that were mating. And then all of a sudden your people came through and they're gone. Now, are you gonna do that in our community too? Or, you
No,
know,
because
are
those-
these habitats gonna suddenly not be there anymore?
Well, yeah, I think you can look at what just happened in Isabella County. There's an eagle's nest right there off the highway, still there. In Gratiot County, the first project that they built right on the, I'm losing my, I forget which exit it is off of 127, but in Gratiot County, there's an eagle's nest right off of 127. If you're driving south, it's on the left-hand side of the road. It's on the west side of the road. If you're driving north, it'll be on the right. That eagle's nest moved in during construction. So that eagle's nest was not, or the initial plan for that project did not include that eagle's nest. So it wasn't, they didn't have a 1.6 mile radius setback from that particular eagle's nest. But those birds have been able to live peacefully in that exact same nest, raise a couple of, younger eagles who've gone out to who knows where they go, but that nest is still active. Those eagles have not been killed. There are restrictions in place already that are set by the federal government that are beyond the control of the township. I mean, if the landowner says we don't care if you get close to the eagle's nest, it doesn't matter. We've got to follow federal guidelines on that. It's not up to me to decide. I've also got to document where all those eagle's nests are. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife already has that, and they verify that those things they're not being tampered with, and it's I don't have that much authority to
How did you work in Gratiot County? There's already a wind catcher tower up over here on West Holland Lake, and you say this project's gonna take 2 years, so does that mean my neighbor has to look at it for 2 years? It's just gonna be sitting there
You look
collecting
at power
data?
poles.
likely, yeah.
Right, but it's right next to her animals. And that's where, are you directly gonna put the wind tower, or the windmill there?
No,
Or are you gonna move it in the field?
Yeah, so we have a couple what we call met towers, but they're meteorological towers. And what they do is it's a 60 meter, I think maybe 80 meter tower that's got a couple guy wires. It's got clear, should have some color designations so that nobody runs into it. We notify the state, we notify the FAA, we notify MDOT. We've notified aerial crop dusters or aerial applicators, so we're going out to notify people of where these things are. But we do have to have a couple years worth of data so that we can get a project. We can't get it approved and we can't get it financed